Greetings to everybody. I must say that teaching a class on suffering was a little overwhelming because as soon as we chose that topic, I thought, oh my God, what do I have to offer to to that, to that subject? You know, like, um, especially today, because right now, today, there were shootings. There was all kinds of stuff all over the world that are so upsetting, so dramatic, so violent, so negative. How do we deal with that? And that's just on top of our own challenges we face in our life, which can come up any day at any moment. I'm a medical intuitive, so my job has a lot to do with suffering. Like I'm always sort of dealing with suffering, to tell you the truth. And I'm always trying to hold space for people that are suffering and help them through what they're going through. I'm also trying to hold light for people who are also healers, because that's another big part of this job is helping people who are healers, whether they're energy healers, doctors. I work with therapists, psychiatrists, um, acupuncturists, many people in the healing arts who have the problem of dealing with suffering and then going home at the end of the day and not quite knowing what to do with it. And that's an important role that we play. We are there for other people, but we also want to handle it for other people. We want to come in refreshed with whatever spirit can give us, with whatever light can give us, and then bring that awareness to other people and then exit so we stay full of light, full of energy to help the next person. So, needless to say, that's kind of a hard job. So, my short answer would be, how do I do it? Well, I find different ways to go to the light. I find different ways to connect with spirit so that I'm always refreshed. And as we do a meditation today, I will lead you through my practice, what I do to connect with spirit, no matter how much suffering I feel that I'm dealing with. But the other part of all of this is, how do we deal with suffering that comes every single day? How do we deal with the event? And one thing I've noticed a lot with working with people is that it's not so much the event of the suffering. So, for example, we can get the bad diagnosis. We can read the paper and be shocked by what's going on in the world. We can hear some news about our friends or family. We can lose our job, realize we can't pay our bills. We have all these different areas where suffering can just come in on us on a certain day and we have to deal with it. But I've noticed there's sort of like three different levels we go through. One is the initial understanding of, I have to deal with this. The second is where we put that in our brain. Like where do we file that? How do we deal with that? So the first thing we usually do is we immediately go to our mind, go to our left brain, and start figuring it out. Do I have to go get a biopsy? Do I have to pay this bill? Do I have to go and help my grandmother? Do I have to give some money to this charity? How can I deal with this suffering? And what are my action steps? Even at that stage, we can freeze down a little bit and we can think, gee, I don't know, what are my action steps? It gets pretty scary. But then the third level I've noticed when I deal with people, which is the hardest, I think, is simply that we internalize it. We take it on, so that maybe 5, 10 years from now, we can say that not only did that happen to me, but I'm still experiencing it. It's still in my body. I'm still dealing with it. I've had clients where they would say to me, "Oh, I went through a terrible divorce and I have nightmares about it every night." And I'll say, "Oh, when did it happen?" and thinking they'll say 3 months, 6 months, and they'll say 10 years ago. Um, a client will say, I've never gotten over this sexual abuse. Well, when did it happen? It happened when I was 7. People will say, I can't believe this partner, my business partner, stole all the money from the business. They were my best friend. And again, I'll say, when did that happen? And they'll say, oh, that happened 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 20 years ago. So our challenge, not only living in this world where apparently suffering is, part of our life, part of our world, is how do we deal with that? How do we not get to the point where it becomes part of our personality, part of our life story? A really close friend of mine was in a mental institution when he was 17. And I said, how have you let go of that? And he said, I haven't let go of it. That's my identity. That is who I am. Now, there's a couple of things I would say about that. One is maybe it was a really good part of his identity. Maybe it formed his character, it gave him strength, it gave him insight. That's the part we don't want to throw away, obviously. But there's another part where we live with these attachments that are extremely negative, extremely upsetting to us, and they become part of us, and we just carry them along through life. Now, maybe we carry them along through guilt, through shame. Maybe we're carrying them along because we want revenge. We didn't think it was fair. We thought, where was God in all of this? You know what I mean? Or maybe we're carrying it along because it's ongoing. Maybe we had a tragedy 10, 20 years ago, but we still have to see that person in a family gathering. How do we deal with that? I would say the first thing that I've learned, and obviously this is, a huge subject that many wise people, wiser than me, know a lot more about. But in my way of thinking, the first thing to do is to try to separate you from the suffering. So, in other words, it doesn't become an I, it becomes an energy that has gone through your life. Maybe it was a horrible experience, but it still was an energy, a lesson, an experience that you didn't necessarily admit to your consciousness. You didn't make it a part of your personality. You didn't make it so much part of you that then you went on in life with that negativity connected to you. You might say, easier said than done. It's definitely easier said than done. But at the same time, that initial connection, when you first hear of a tragedy, a setback, a diagnosis, that's the moment to try to bring in all your awareness and say, wait a minute, I can use my mind to deal with this, but I'm not going to identify with it. I'm not going to make it Abby. I'm not going to say, okay, that's who I am. Because once we get into that, and we all have. I mean, it's like I'm not different in the sense that I have done that many times in my life. But that's the point where we start limiting ourselves and saying, 20 years later, I can't do that because I can't go out with somebody because of this horrible thing that happened. I I can't drive in a car. I can't go on a train. I'm terrible with money. This situation with my father has been going on for 30 years. I don't think it'll ever end. That's the part we need to address. That's the part we need to work on with our light skills, our spiritual skills, mostly to get also the deeper understanding that if there was negativity, if there was a tragedy, it doesn't have to define us. The only reason we might be grabbing onto it is unresolved trauma, guilt, shame, things that we haven't processed out yet. Of course, those are the areas we want to look at or be aware of so that we don't keep carrying this along as our identity. The other thing I learned about suffering, tragedy, was meeting some people that didn't seem to carry it along. Because obviously I was always carrying it along myself. So it was like, how do these people go through these experiences and not identify with it, not carry it along, not make it this constant battle of like, this happened to me and I don't know if I can do this, or I must be a weak person, guilty, shameful. I don't know if I can handle this situation right now because of what happened to me before. That's the part we want to heal. Even in our everyday life, if our mind starts to take over and we look at the news and we say to ourselves, um, so much is going on in the world today, I feel a knot in my stomach. I feel terrified. I don't know what's going to happen in the world. I'm carrying that today and I don't know how to let it go. So that's become part of me now. And I really have no idea how to let go of it. So the obvious solution is we can't go to our mind. Our mind is always the monkey brain where all our thoughts just keep going over and over and over again. And we all know that that becomes a pattern of negativity, a pattern of suffering. We can't think our way out of it. And in fact, that becomes the pattern that can sort of guide us or haunt us for years because that pattern comes up in our mind and we don't know what to do with it. I have found the best way to deal with it is to get out of the mind entirely and go to the heart, go to the soul, go to spirit. Again, easier said than done. I'm going to lead a meditation in a few minutes, just giving you a couple of options of how to do that, of how to do it for yourself. And I'm sure you also have many options and ways of doing it yourself. When you get focused, you know yourself you can't stay in your mind. You know yourself you can't stay with the burden of that negativity because negativity itself becomes almost addictive. And we've all known people that seem to go through life from one negative thing to the next. It's constantly harping in their mind. They're constantly pointing out how this tragedy happened, that tragedy happened, how they can't do this or that. We all know people like that. What happens? Well, the negativity becomes addictive. If there's a constant voice in our head that is negative, we don't know how to face things, we feel fear or trauma. That's where we also go to other addictive things like we go to weed, we might go to drinking, eating. Anything addictive will allow us to take the pressure off of ourselves just a little bit so that we can get on to the next day. But it's not a permanent solution because, again, the addiction of that negativity is always there. It's the addiction of our negative mind, the way our mind will go from one thing to another. And I find it in my clients too, because when they start talking about a negative situation, they'll say it in the same words like, this happened, this happened, this happened, and this is how I feel. I can't forgive them. I can't get over it. And suddenly I can feel their emotions. They're just locked in it. They've tapped back into that negative reality and they're almost a prisoner of it. So, in other words, when we deal with suffering, we're dealing with maybe 10%, 20%. And I'm not trying to minimize the horrible effect of some of the things that are going on in the world, but I'm saying the biggest part of it is the initial shock. What we do with it, that's the part that we can control. And that's the part we need to control because we need to rise above it and we can't really let it haunt us. We have to create a positive space within ourselves so that unfortunately tomorrow we can wake up and hear the next news or the next suffering. And instead of being, hopefully totally freaked out, we can handle it in some way. We can get to our skills, we can get to our tools and find an element of the positive. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but there's a certain point with negativity and suffering where I get mad at it. And I say to myself, why does it have power over me? And I think anyone abusive, whether they're in our family, nationally, internationally, anyone abusive rides on this, where they're counting on everybody to go into fear, to go into negativity and let it limit them. They're thinking, okay, if I bully, threaten, hurt people enough, um, they're just going to snap into a negative reality and they aren't going to believe that that can change. Because I said negativity is very addictive. Any abuser, even in your family, knows that if they're constantly saying to you, you're stupid, you can't get a job, you're useless, that person's going to believe it. Negativity is addictive. They're going to say, oh, maybe you're right. Maybe I can't get a job. Maybe I can't grow up and go to college. And when we're at that point, we've sort of swallowed the Kool-Aid already, where we're going along with this very negative vibration. But there has to be something in us that says, wait a minute, okay, the negative is very convincing, but there's this whole positive world out there. There's this whole positive energy, and I'm going to find some reliable ways to keep tuning into it. I'm going to tune into it so much that even if my suffering seems long term, even if the world events look, whoa, I am going to keep tuning into the positive. And I've had some examples in my life of people that were able to do that. For example, I had a really good friend, Zach, who was an actor and a dancer. And he had just gotten engaged. He was really in love with his fiancee. He went swimming in a pond with a bunch of friends. He hit a rock on the bottom of the pond and he became paralyzed for life, from his neck down. Even his arms were affected. He was in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Here's this bright, engaging, handsome guy who suddenly was in a wheelchair, who had wanted to be an actor all his life. Where did Zach go with that? And I'm sure there were many phases of how he progressed through that experience. But I'll tell you what Zach did is he became an actor. He's gotten on many TV shows as an actor in a wheelchair. So, what is it in his mind? Where was he able to tap into that positive thing where he said, okay, I'm not just going to give up. I'm not going to say I can't be an actor. I can't do any of the things I wanted to do. I'm I'm going to be in a halfway house, or my parents are gonna take care of me. His fiance said, "Look, we're still getting married. I believe in you." Now they have two kids, and he's a working actor. Now tell me that isn't kind of a difficult thing to do. You know what I mean? I remember my friend John, who was a pilot, and he taught flying. He also would fly people around for custom trips. He flew into this one airport and he parked the plane in a certain area. These people came after him from Homeland Security and said, "You parked your plane in the wrong place. You have a fine of $35,000." And John wasn't a millionaire. I mean, he was like, he had money, but $35,000. And the day I remember he told me about that, I said, "How was your day, John?" He said, "Oh, it's fine. We flew up to Monterey. We did this, we did that. We shopped, we flew back." And only later in the conversation, he said, "Oh, and by the way, um, I have to pay a fine of $35,000." And I said, "Why?" And I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that for John, he didn't take that as a crisis. He didn't take that as suffering. And I'll tell you a little bit more about John. He had a heart attack. He died clinically, and he came back to life. He was one of those people who went in the tunnel of light and was clinically dead and then came back to life. So one thing I noticed about being around John was that not a whole lot would bother him. You know what I mean? Like if I got a fine for $35,000, I would probably talk about it for the whole year. And then the next 9 years, I would be boring everyone with my story. Oh, I got a fine for $35,000. Can you believe it? So I'm just trying to say, where do we put this experience in our head? Where do we let it be part of our life? That's the part that we can control. I mean, I also think of Nelson Mandela. He was in prison for 27 years. He must have had a pretty good spiritual practice because the day that he was let out of prison, he became the premier of South Africa. So, how did he feel? I mean, it's easy to say he was an amazing leader. He could walk out of prison one day and lead South Africa the next day. But I'd say the real question is what was going on in his head? Why did he not become so bitter, so broken, so depressed, so self hating, hating God, hating life, that after 27 years he wasn't just utterly overwhelmed by it? How was he able to be so mentally strong that the next day he went to the Parliament of South Africa and said, here's what we're going to do? How do we get to that place where we're able to completely connect with the positive? And I'm not trying to say that anyone's infallible. It's going to be a struggle for all of us. Obviously, the negative in our life, the suffering, the tragedy is overwhelming to our little human selves. But on the other hand, the power of the light, the power of the divine energy, whatever you're calling it, the universe, God, goddess, we can call it many different things. Allah, God, Brahma. Um, but the point is, it's real. It's very intense. It's very powerful. I think most of you that are spiritual have been feeling even the intense energy coming to the planet this year. So it's creating a lot of drama, but it's also, if we're really open to it and tuning into it, it's also creating a tremendous power and clearing within us. And we can feel it in most of the classes that Jim and I teach, whether it's an in-person seminar or Zoom or with a client, we really try to create that connection so people can really feel it. I don't think it's going to be in the headlines. There's not going to be any big newspaper article of like so and so, oh, they finally felt this amazing energy. No. But on the other hand, it's just as real as anything else. In fact, probably more real because once we tap into it, it can change our life. Jim has been working with a client just for 6 months who came to him with stage 4 cancer. She's almost completely cancer free now. And I mean, really, the numbers have gone way down to where there's just a slight trace of cancer in her body. Now, how did she do that? How did Jim help her to do that, to get the spiritual tools to do that? Once again, it's tapping into that force that's very unseen, but the weird thing is it works. It works to mitigate so many of the challenges we go through. It works to pull us back from tragedy. It works to change our outlook so that we don't build up so much resistance in our mind that we actually block this beautiful, powerful energy that can come to us and really heal us and transform us. And maybe we're going to get a point in the world where enough people are connecting to this where we can just bring it into our group experience. Maybe we're going to get to a point where a big national problem or tragedy happens. We get together and pray or meditate and change the focus, change the vibration. I read a quote which said, negativity is an old paradigm. Those who try to solve problems by hurting others or hurting themselves, they're finding it doesn't work anymore. Negativity as an addiction, negativity as a way of going through life, negativity as a way the world goes through experience. It's an old paradigm. I think it's dying. It's up to us, each one of us, to unplug. Now, obviously, there's plenty of opportunities to replug into the negative. So that's why we need our spiritual tools. But at the same time, it's very, very doable. So I'm going to teach a meditation now. I'm going to get us relaxed, get us into this higher frequency, this higher connection. And I'm going to use this meditation today to help you deal with something in your life that has seemed very negative, seemed unsurmountable, or maybe even happened before in your life, and you're not quite sure of how to let it go. It can be present in your day. It may not even be in your life. It could simply be the headlines. But I want to help you, first of all, feel this tremendously positive energy that's always there for us, and then bring a negative or tragic situation into us, and just help us understand how we can let go. Maybe we let go a little at a time. Maybe the grip of negativity lets go slowly. Maybe we can let it go all in a big rush. It's all up to us. There's no good or bad. It's basically the challenge we all face. So if you're ready, why don't we just close our eyes and start to breathe? Just breathe very deeply into your body. We're just starting with the breath. This meditation will take about 15 minutes. So if you need to grab something to drink or get comfortable, go ahead. But we're just starting out with breathing. And I want you to breathe way down past your chest into your belly, but just keep going further. Keep pulling that breath all the length of your body. Pull that breath all the way down to your toes. Let's see if we can get in a rhythm of breath. So, whatever you've brought to this day, to this moment, let's just try to breathe through it. Let's try to release it if we can. Just very slowly. Nothing gets released automatically, but just very slowly, let's breathe through it and relax our body. Now I want you to take a deep breath and pull it into your body, and I want you to hold the breath. Hold the breath deep in your body for as long as you can. Just let it out when you're ready. The reason we hold our breath is we're going to that sweet spot where we're allowing ourselves to just be totally still. So, in other words, the stillness comes into our body. We're not breathing out, we're not breathing in, we're just holding the breath. So, let's do that again. Let's pull the breath in, hold the breath. Take that moment of silence and breathe out when you feel ready. Let's do that one more time. Breathe way in, hold the breath. Just breathe out. Now I want you to roll your head on your neck, just to relax, but just let your head go. Just let it roll around. Now go the opposite direction. You're just rolling your head, rolling your head. There's so much stress that gets caught at the back of our neck. Just roll over it very gently. If it seems like it hurts or it's tense, just be very gentle. Just roll your head. Now, I want you to raise your shoulders. Just squeeze them right up under your ears, just as tight as you possibly can. Squeeze your shoulders. Now let them drop. Let's do that one more time. Squeeze your shoulders up, tighter, tighter, tighter. Now let them drop. Now we're going to raise our hands up in the air. See if you can reach the ceiling. I want you to feel that stretch from the very base of your spine, up your back, your shoulders, your arms, up through your hands. You're reaching higher and higher. You're stretching more and more and more. And now, when I tell you to, I want you to let your hands come down, but very slowly. I want them to float down. So let's start that now. Your hands are floating down, but the reason they're floating is because they're weightless. Your arms are weightless. It's like you're pushing through snow. It's like your arms can't come down. Your whole body is weightless. It's just floating. It's just floating in the air. You don't have any weight in your body. You don't have any pain in your body. You're just floating. And now, if you're seated, I want you to lean forward, lean to the side, lean to the back, and lean to the side again. What we're doing is we're rotating on our hips. If you're lying down in this meditation, I want you to simply roll your hips a little bit. You're just stretching your lower back. Can you do that? Now remember, your lower back is also where we store a lot of tension, so be gentle. It's just a slow stretch. It's an easy stretch. You're just going around and around. Now I want you to go the opposite direction. Again, we're stretching, we're going around and around very gently, very easily. If there's any painful points, just go over them, stretch them out. We're just relaxing. Now we're going to sit up straight. And now here's a very easy thing to do. What does your body feel like right now? And there aren't any right answers. Whoa, there's a concept. Do you feel warmth? Do you feel a buzzing? Do you feel a tingling? Is there pain in any part of your body? Is there stiffness? Let's take a moment and just feel your body. How does your energy feel? Now, I want you to imagine a bright, bright light coming down through the top of your head, coming right into your body. We're calling this in the name of God, Goddess, Spirit, Holy Spirit, Great Spirit. This is our life force coming down into our body through our crown chakra, the divine energy that is constantly moving through us. It rushes down your legs, it rushes down your arms, it swirls around your heart. We're asking our guides and our angels, all our invisible helpers and healers, to come in and help us feel this life force, because it's always with us, whether we're aware of it or not. Feel your pulse. Feel your pulse. What do you feel? It's energy. The energy is always flowing through us. It's filling your heart. Your heart is so full of this divine energy. It floods out of your heart and it creates light all around us, an energy field all around us. When light hits it, that's our aura. Now, our energy field can be very slim. It could just be an inch away from our body. It could be 5 feet from our body. Let's take a moment and just feel that energy around us. Now, that energy field is always there every day for you. So I want you to understand that if you fill up with light at the beginning of the day or fill up with energy, if you have a really hard time thinking of the image of light, um, do that before you leave the house, because that's a moment where you can protect yourself with your own energy, your own light. You can call in your guides and angels. You can imagine that light field around you, and then go to your job, go deal with your family, go to the grocery store. But you're going to have that protection around you. Just because it's invisible, it doesn't mean it isn't real. And that's the really important thing with all spiritual work. Eventually, as we do it more and more, and I know many of you are healers yourself, you actually can see the results and you feel it every day. So, therefore, the invisible becomes much more understandable because we're working with it. So, let's go back to our heart. Let's feel a nice, warm sensation in our heart. Now, our life force, our chi, is increased with all the moments of happiness and joy that we have in our life. Happiness gives us chi. Our heart is like a battery. So if we're constantly allowing ourselves moments of happiness and joy, our battery stays full. We're constantly generating life force. Now remember, these incidents of happiness, you don't have to win the lottery. You don't have to have the greatest romance in the world. You could just have a great cup of tea, or you could watch a sunset, or walk your dog, or read a really good book. But the important part is how it feels in your body, and how willing you are to embrace these simple feelings of happiness, joy, and comfort. So I want you to think back over the last week or two. What were some moments for you that were happy, just simply happy or joyful? And how did they feel in your heart? So remember, that's your fuel, that's your energy. And that's why in life, it's so important to go towards what you love to do. Obviously, it can be very difficult. But at the same time, it's so important to keep moving towards what you love, keep embracing what you love, because that creates your health. It creates all the energy in your body. Now we're going to do a little exercise where we once again give ourselves a little bit more chi, a little bit more life force energy. So I want you to put your hands out in front of your heart with your palms up. And I want you to imagine a ball of light or energy in your hands. If you have a hard time visualizing, just say to yourself, I call in my guides and angels, and I have a ball of energy in my hands. You're proclaiming it. But let's see if you can feel it. You might feel a little warmth between your palms. You might feel just a little tingling. If you're visual, this light might have a color. You might feel it. It might even be getting heavy, might be getting larger, it might be getting a little smaller. What does it feel like? Now we say to ourselves, dearest God, Creator, I accept this gift of love that you're giving me today. This is the love, the chi, the life force, the energy. It's all around us, but now we have some of it in our hands and we're going to give it to ourselves. What does it feel like? Did it change at all? Did it get heavier? Did it get bigger? Is it a different color? Now I want you to put that right into your heart. Did you just feel anything? We say to ourselves, I receive it in my heart and in my life. What does your body feel like right now? Now let's put our hands out one more time. There's another ball of energy in our hands. Again, if you can't see it, just say to your guides and angels, I proclaim or I intend to have this ball of energy in my hands. But for those of you that can feel it a little bit, can you? Can you feel any warmth there? Any energy? Is there a color? Is there a feeling there? Now, this is a specific gift that the universe is giving you today. So it might be an answer to a certain problem. It might be a relationship that's getting healed. It might be money. It might be joy. It might be strength. It might be just simple patience. What is this gift that the universe is giving right to you specifically today? Are you feeling the meaning of it? Are you feeling the color or the sense of it? Now we say to ourselves, dearest God, Creator, I accept this gift that you're giving me today. How important is it to receive? How important is it to say, I accept? So many of us go through our day giving, giving, giving. We have to remember to receive. Now put your attention on this ball of light in your hand. Do you still feel it? Has it changed any? Is it a different color? Is there a message? I want you to put it right in your heart. You are accepting it. You are receiving that gift. And we say to ourselves, I receive it in my heart and in my life. Now let's just connect with our heart for the moment. Maybe you felt new energy coming in with that energy. Maybe you feel warm because we've been pulling light all through our body. Now we're calling in our guides and our angels, the invisible light beings that are with us, and they're going to help us lift off some of our suffering. And the reason they're going to do that is because we're allowing them. So, in other words, we're saying to our angels and guides, we're saying, I don't want to carry this around. I get it. I'm suffering. This happened to me. I don't know how to deal with it, but I don't really want to carry it. I want to carry as little of it as I can, and I want to move through it in a way that's helpful for all the people around me, but I still want to move through it. I don't want to make it part of me. So let's focus on the warmth in your heart for a moment. I want you to imagine that beautiful light pouring down through the top of your head. This beautiful chi, life force energy is constantly moving through you, even if you don't notice it. You're constantly filling up with chi. Now, I want you to start thinking about something in your life. Just take one, you know, um, that's really upsetting you, something that you would consider is giving you suffering. It could be the headline you read today. It could be something that happened 10 years ago, 30 years ago. But I want you to take a moment and focus on it and focus on how it feels. And it may be painful, but I want you to sit with it a moment. It may come with feelings of fear. It may come with feelings of anger or helplessness. You may be reminded of people that upset you. Now, I don't want you to freak out, but just spend just a moment. What is it in that package that, and how do you feel it? Let's just spend a moment there. Now, where you're putting this is in a pocket of light right in your heart so that you can experience it, but there's a little buffer zone so you're not feeling quite so much pain from it. And remember, your guides and your angels are with you. One of the hardest things about the feeling of suffering or tragedy is that it seems never ending. It seems like we're in a world where that rules us and it will never stop ruling us. We feel helpless. If you need to go into that feeling for just a moment, feel it. It's you're in a safe space right now, so feel some of that. It's almost like a big weight in your heart. I don't know how you're experiencing it or feeling it, but remember you have an angel on either side of you. It's almost like they're taking one of your arms. On either side, you have a light being. You're carrying this huge weight in your heart. But wait a minute, what are they doing? Your angels are picking you up off the ground. They're raising you by your arms. They're raising you into the air. You're still carrying this terrible weight. It's holding down your whole body, and yet they're lifting you. Now watch as your angels go out of the house you're in. They go into the air. They go into the sky. Wherever you are, they're headed for the sun. There's an angel on either side of you, and you can feel the warmth of them pressing in, and they're getting you to go faster and faster and faster through the air. You're looking down at the city or the countryside where you live. Where are they taking you? They're going faster and faster, and yet You're starting to feel lighter and lighter and lighter. Now they're going up into space, into the universe. And yet you're all protected. You're totally protected in this little shell of light, hugged by your angels. And now you're going towards the sun. Can you look ahead and see the sun, this enormous, enormous ball of light in front of you? You probably don't think you're going to survive this. And yet the angels are going faster and faster into this sunlight. What are you going to do? You're completely trapped. You're completely trapped and going so fast, faster than the speed of light, right towards the sun. You're coming into this brilliant, brilliant light. What happens instead of burning up, what burns up is this terrible burden in your heart. I want you to take that burden in your heart and just pull it out. Give it to the sun, flying into the sun. Get your angels to pull it out if you can't do it. You're pulling out this terrible burden and it's going right into this brilliant light. It's dissolving, it's disappearing. The brilliant light comes right into your heart. What's happening there? It just flows into your heart, it explodes into your heart. All that burden is gone. It's completely disintegrated. The light goes right up to your mind, right up to your brain. It starts disintegrating all your thoughts, all your fears. What are you feeling right now? You're in the midst of the God energy, the goddess energy, the universe energy, the bright, bright light. You're completely one with it now. It's completely pulled out all that suffering. It's completely pulled out all of that loss. You had no last opinion on it, no last thought, because all your thoughts have exploded into light. But deep down, you feel comfortable. You feel like a little kid that's all wrapped up in a blanket. You're just about to go to sleep, and your angels ride with you very softly away from the sun, very softly through the universe, very softly through the air. You're coming back slowly, coming back to your room, coming back to your world. But you feel so much lighter. You feel so much safer. You feel so free. But it's not an unfamiliar feeling. It's like how you felt when you were 2 or 3 years old. You just feel safe. The blanket is all wrapped around you, and there's really nothing in life that can really hurt you. Your angels are right next to you. Now they put you back in your chair or your bed, and you just feel the light settle on you. It fills your heart, it fills your body. And you ask your angels and guides to always be close by, to guide you every day, and to be with you at night when you sleep, and always be reminding you that you are close to Spirit, that Spirit is always there to help you, to heal you, to protect you, to make you feel safe. Your angels are always with you. Let's give them a job. Let's give them a job in the next weeks and months to always come in and give you wisdom and guidance about anything that makes you suffer. Their presence is right there, and their protection is right there. Let's take a deep breath. Let's take another deep, deep breath. Feel that warmth all throughout your body. We're holding on to all the healing that's happened today, all the connection to light. It's going to be a part of us forever. Another deep breath. When you feel ready, just open your eyes. We're going to take a break now, a break of 10 minutes, and we're going to come back for Jim's class and his meditation. We're a little bit later today, but bear with us, have a break, get something to drink or eat, and come back for Jim's part of the class. Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me and see me? Good. All right. Welcome back. And we got Abby back up and running. So she's with us from another computer now. Anyway, for those who don't know me, my name is Jim McCarthy, and Abby and I have been teaching together for several years. And before that, we both taught individually for probably about 20 years. And um, when this title of this class came in, it's not one that people jump up and down for, right? I remember taking a class called The Art of Suffering one time, and my guides told me to take it, and I took it, and it was an intense class, and I'm glad I took it because it really made me go deep into understanding you know, that there's a time in life where we're in light and we're happy and we're joyful and we're creating. And then there's other times of light where we are suffering and we need to learn how to deal with it and heal it. And they're both essential, right? I mean, without suffering, we would never heal, we would never evolve, right? So they're both good, okay? And so when I was writing notes for this class, the first thing my guide said is suffering is never an easy subject. And even though it's a hard spiritual lesson, it's essential for our spiritual growth and our healing, right? You can't just deny, when you have a wound or when you have hurt and think it's going to heal itself. We have to do something with it. Okay. Um, Sara O'Meara is a very evolved soul. She's a healer and she's a very pure conduit of the Holy Spirit, very effective healer. And she wrote this book called Healed Your Miracle Awaits. And I don't know if this quote came from her book or from one of her lessons, but she says, nothing will ever go away until it teaches us what we need to know. Right. And there's been times in my life where I was really stuck and I tried to maneuver around it. You know, I tried to get other people to do it, face whatever it was I was facing. Um, I remember one time I was running a fairly large company and I had uh, I had a lawsuit, or yeah, I think it was actually a contract, and it was a fairly large contract, like $500,000, and it was written by one of the larger companies in the world, and it was kind of a bully one-sided contract. Like you're going to do this work for us, and you're going to be liable for everything under the sun, and we're going to have any right to do whatever we want to you, right? And so I was reading this contract, and part of me was like afraid. I could feel the fear. And I was afraid, I was uncertain, and I was trying to pawn it off to anyone that would take it because I didn't want to make a mistake. So I called my lawyer and I said, "Hey, will you redline this contract for me?" And he's like, "No, sorry, I'm in court. I can't do it." And so then I called in one of my employees and I said, "Will you redline this contract for me?" And he was really good at contract. He goes, "Sorry, boss, I've got this other stuff I've got to do and I can't do it." And so finally I realized after like 2 days of this, there was no way out of this thing for me. And so I finally just took a deep breath and I looked up to my guys and I said, "What's the lesson here?" Right? Because I realized that even though I didn't like what I was facing, there was no way out for me. And so I said, "What's the lesson here?" And they said, "To learn to be fearless and impeccable with your word." And I was like, "Okay, that's a lesson I want." Right? So I went through it. And it was funny because I did the best I could. I called another one of my lawyers at the time and I asked him if he would do it. And he's like, "No, sorry, but if you do it and if you do it the best you can, I'll go over it and then I'll teach you how to do it better." And he ended up teaching me for like 3 months and I learned how to do it. But the truth of the matter is, I was afraid to make a mistake. And I was afraid that if I didn't give them what they wanted, that they weren't going to hire me, right? And so I learned courage in this. I learned impeccability with the word. I learned how to let go of being afraid of what other people can do. There was a lot of things in it that I wouldn't trade in. But if I didn't learn how to deal with the suffering component, the fear, and learn how to face it, I I would still be stuck in it today, right? Because the lesson doesn't go away. Like Sarah says, nothing will ever go away until you learn what you need to know, right? And that's the truth. Sometimes when we have something to heal in us, and when we're misperceiving something, or we've been taught to believe something about ourselves that hurts, if it's not of truth, if it's not of light, if it's not of God's truth, it needs to be healed. And we're not supposed to suffer. We're not supposed to suffer long term, right? Suffering is kind of a bridge to healing, but it needs to be understood as a bridge to healing, not as God's punishing me. Okay. So, um, I don't know who's heard of Rumi, but Rumi was a philosopher and he dealt a lot with suffering. He wrote a lot about it. And he said, suffering opens the heart, right? He believes it softens the heart and makes it receptive to light. And if you look at the meditations Abby was just doing and the teaching she was just doing, she was like, if you're suffering, don't just go into the mind and lament into the mind. You've got to connect with the light. And then you've got to ask the light to basically pull you out of it. Okay. Because in the suffering, there is no truth, right? When we're suffering, especially when we're deeply suffering, we're always going to feel all alone, right? Because like we feel like we're like trapped in some place where there's no help for us, and we feel all alone. But when we ask ourselves, who's the I that feels all alone? It's your identification with the wound in the mind, right? You're separate and apart from this light that's all knowing, all loving, and with you, but you're not aware of it at that time. Okay. So, in this world, we're always walking down this path, and we always can choose darkness, which is like fear and anger and hate and resentment and doubt and things like that, or you can choose light. Okay. And we don't realize that that's the case. But, when suffering comes up, that's something from the dark side that still needs to be healed, meaning that it's something that's not true. And all we have to do is reach for light at that point and ask the light to help us heal it. right? Because you can't heal it. And that's really when you understand that, it's really something to celebrate, right? Because you're not responsible to heal it. You're responsible to make a choice to want to heal it and to ask for help healing it. But you can't do the healing. Only God or the light can do the healing. So, it's like if that's the case, and you can also realize that other step that if you're suffering, you're misperceiving something, then you can heal. And there's no big burden to it anymore, right? So, um, another couple of sayings from Rumi are pain is not a punishment, it's an invitation. Well, what's it an invitation to? To choose light, to choose healing, right? It's like, if you were pounding a nail into a piece of wood and you missed with the hammer and hurt your thumb and it hurt, you'd be like, ow, and you'd pull your thumb out, and then you'd be like, that hurt, right? Well, you made a mistake, right? And it caused pain. Okay. And so what do? You fix it up, you put a band-aid on it, you maybe put some antiseptic on it, and you go back to work, and you might be a little more careful. Emotionally, when we have an ow, a lot of us just try to blame someone for it, or we try to distract ourselves from it, or it's too scary to look at. So we just kind of deny it, turn on the TV, and we sit there watching TV, but inside of us, we got this discomfort and it doesn't go away, right? Maybe our relationship brought it up. We got triggered in our relationship and we feel like we're not good enough or we're not lovable. And we're sitting with it and we're upset with our spouse because they made us feel it. Okay. But the truth of the matter is, even if you got rid of that spouse and you got a new spouse, they're going to make you feel it too because it's something that needs to be healed in you. There's no truth to it. Right. So, you know, part of learning how to go through suffering and use it as a healing modality is to really start to be present and start witnessing what's going on in you, right? If someone hurts you, and if they say something or do something that triggers emotional pain in you, don't automatically try to change them or stop them or defend yourself against them. Take a few minutes and feel what they triggered in you. Like Abby said, just be with it. And what you'll realize is that as soon as you decide to be with it, you'll be like, okay, this is what is active in me right now. And if you don't judge yourself for it and you just recognize it as a feeling and maybe some perceptions with that feeling or some memories that it triggered, then you can realize, okay, this emotion isn't who I am. These memories and thoughts aren't me. They're usually someone's judgment about me that I believed. And then I thought it was me. I thought I was that. Okay. But it's not true. Okay. And if we can do that and we can really be with it, that's like the first step is just to let it come up. Right. Because if the suffering doesn't come up, it never comes out. Okay. So let it come up and just witness it and breathe and just kind of like if it was like if you those of you who are parents, if it was like a child and they came home from school and they were all upset, you would just be with them and let them tell you about it, right? And you would just realize they're wounded. Try to do that with yourself too. And let that child, because it really is a child, it's something that from the past usually, let that child express itself to you. And as soon as it starts to do that, then call in the divine and ask the divine to help you to heal it, to help you to take these emotions out and bring light in its place, right? And that's what I mean is like when you can let things come up and come out of you, that's your step of the healing process. just to let them surface and let them come out without denying, without defending, without being upset about it. Just breathe into it. Okay. And you'll realize that feelings don't hurt. It's only when we try to resist them that it hurts. Okay. And that's one of the main things that makes us suffer is resistance. When we resist feeling something, we resist facing something, we resist, saying something, right? All those things kind of just bury suffering in us. And it's when we learn how to clear it that it dissolves into nothing. I was reading something this morning about fear, and it's like, as long as we give fear a story, we keep it alive. When we can just feel the fear and quit identifying with it as us and then call in light, eventually it just dissolves into nothing and goes away. Okay. But if it's like, well, I'm afraid because so and so may not like me, right? And we get that person to like us temporarily because nobody likes everybody forever, right? We're pretty conditional, right? So if we uh, if we do this and we just kind of can be with the feeling of not being liked and make peace with it. Because face it, in this world, we're going to get rejected all the time. We're going to get judged all the time. We're going to be liked sometimes and rejected other times. So why not make friends with how it feels? Because it's not about us, right? And the more I was dealing with someone with rejection one time, and that's a common thing in sessions is not wanting to be rejected because it's painful. Okay. And so what do? We heal the wound. You heal the wound. And as you heal the wound, and then you start healing all of the perceptions and the belief systems associated with the wound, eventually they're like, wow, I got rejected the other day and I realized it was a blessing. I didn't want the person either. Right. But it's kind of like God has a way of unraveling things to when we see something in the light of truth, there's no pain, right? There's absolutely no pain. When you let go of the suffering and you let the light start to unravel it, it comes out in layers sometimes. But when you start to let it go and let the light unravel it, when you get to the bottom of it, it just transmits to joy. There's just nothing left, right? And then you'll realize that whereas this used to always cause me pain, now this happens and it doesn't trigger anything in me. There's nothing left to trigger, right? Then you're at peace. And then someone can reject you and you're not broken down. Or if someone does reject you, you're just like, okay, or if someone's upset with you, okay, right? So what? Right? But learning how to address your emotional wounds and use them as a modality for healing is the key to this all. Because if you suppress the wound, right? And the way we suppress the wound is by denial, not letting ourselves feel it, distracting ourselves, or, one of the favorite ones is try to control the outside world so you never have to feel it, so that nobody ever pushes that button. Okay. But as long as that button's in there and it's not of your essence, it's going to have to come up to be healed. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So another phrase from Rumi, pain is a messenger. It's not an enemy, but a guide. Pain reveals where you're out of alignment with the truth of love and where healing is needed. That's it. I mean, it's like if we can recognize that and have the skills to heal it, there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to resist. So, so let's talk about um, well, let me see if I got a. So I don't know if any of you guys know who Mother Mara is, but she's an avatar that lives in India, and she just brings light to the world. She's a really beautiful, divine, feminine being. And she wrote this book. It's called, where is it? Answers. Answers. Whoa. Answers too. Okay. And it's all people's questions to her and answers. And she claims to be all knowing. She came to this earth as an avatar just to heal. And so somebody asked her a question. It was like, what kind of suffering is the most painful? Okay. Because one thing she says is we create about 90% of our own suffering. Okay. So if we can create it, we can uncreate it. And so the question to her was, what kind of suffering is the most painful? And her answer was, when we desire and expect something and we don't get it, that is what's most painful. Okay. So we've all been in places to where we really, really want something like someone's love and their approval, or we want this job, or we want recognition for this or something, and we don't get it. And we try and we try and we try and we don't get it. And it becomes very painful. Okay. But what's painful is that we're attached to an outcome that we really can't control. Right. Love, acceptance, and recognitions are really big ones for that. Right. We want people to love us and accept us and recognize us as being good so that we think we're good because we really don't think we're good. Okay. We're really operating from a place of insecurity and think that we're unworthy of love or unworthy of this or that. So we pick someone out, and we try to get them to love us and accept us and approve of us in order to heal that wound. Okay. And that in itself creates suffering because people are never going to love you all the time or accept you all the time or approve of you all the time. It's only when you give them what they want. Okay. So that's true. But anyway, so if we start to recognize that there's a part of us that doesn't feel like we're worthy of being loved or approved or accepted, we don't feel that we have a special gift, that's what needs to be healed, right? And that healing comes from light. It doesn't come from someone else telling us in this world that, oh, you're good enough, right? Then the next day it's like, oh, you really are bad, right? Then you're like a yo-yo back and forth, right? We got to heal it at the core, which means heal the wound. Okay. But if we're not willing to be with the wound and let the wound come up and then bring light to the wound, it won't heal. It will never heal. Okay. So that's why learning how to heal, learning how suffering works and how to heal it is so important. Otherwise, you're always kind of trying to control it in the outside world. I wrote an article one time, and I'll post it on this link in our YouTube channel. But it's like healing the inner heals the outer. Okay, and it's very magical. When we start to believe we're lovable and we start to know that we're lovable, we attract people that treat us that way, right? And it just happens naturally. Okay. When we start to recognize the truths about rejection, it doesn't bother us. We recognize that some things are a match for us and some things aren't, but there's no emotional component to it anymore, right? So that's why it's so important to start healing this stuff. Um, and I'm trying to point out some really big triggers to suffering, right? Acceptance, needing people's acceptance, love, and approval is probably one of the biggest. Another one is we always have a choice in this world, just be like we have a choice between light and darkness. We have a choice between having faith or doubting. Okay. Doubting we're good enough, doubting that God loves us enough to heal us, right? Things like that. And it's really comes down to I was working with this one person who was going through a legal case. I work with a lot of people that go through legal cases. And she was getting ready for some trial judgment the next day. And she asked me to send light to it. So I was in meditation, I'm sending light. And the Divine Mothers is one that I work with a lot. And she came into the meditation and she says, tell her that she needs to choose between fear and doubt or faith and light. And whatever she chooses, that'll be the outcome. And I asked, what does that mean? And it's like, does she believe that darkness is powerful or light is powerful? And because light will never hurt you, right? And so I texted her, and the next day she won their case, right? But it goes to what you put your faith in is what you create. It's like when you walk down the street, if if you see all of this darkness and you're afraid of it, then you've obviously already put your faith in it, right? And then it's going to control you, right? You're going to be in defense to it. But if you walk down the street, you can see the darkness, but over here, the light is way more powerful and smart than the darkness. And you put your faith in that, the darkness leaves you alone. All right. And you don't compromise yourself ever for it. Right. So that's kind of, it's a little bit out of topic, but I thought I'd bring it up. Um, I mean, I think the reason I brought up the fear and doubt is that, this goes back to prayer. I do a lot of work with people with prayer. And when we pray for something, you know, we're reaching for light. Okay. And when we do that, we're tuning into the divine. As soon as we say a prayer, we just have to be open to receive and believe we're worthy of being helped. Okay. When we say a prayer, like I remember one time I said a prayer for something and I immediately thought I wasn't worthy of help. And so then I asked myself, why do I feel this way? And someone that was in my past came in on a soul level and said, because you're not. And I was like, well, you're not God, right? But I had been told that I was not good for so long that I believed it. And so then I had to like release that from myself. And that when that comes up, you suffer, right? So then when that comes up, you offer it to the divine. And back to Mother Mara, she says, if you're suffering, offer me your suffering and offer me all the thoughts to do with your suffering and all the memories to do with your suffering. And let me take them from you and ask me to fill you with good thoughts, true thoughts, right? That's it. We're the middleman, but we get to ask and we get to choose if we're asking for something from the light side or from the dark side, right? And if we keep choosing light, the light will purify us. Over time, it will purify you to where you're feeling love and you're feeling light and you're feeling joy and you're feeling peace and you're excited about life, right? But if we deny what we're suffering about, we don't heal the suffering and it keeps bringing us down. Okay. So it's important to, when suffering comes in, it's important to pay attention to it and not just deny it. Okay. It isn't your essence. Your essence is light, but it's something that you were taught to believe or that you did believe or you were judged for or whatever in the past that you believed and it became part of your identity. And now it needs to leave. Okay. So, whenever we say like, oh, I'm not good enough, right? We're identifying with that, right? One of the things you want to do when you catch yourself saying that is to offer it to the divine and say, hey, please heal this, right? It goes back to when you pray, If you pray and then all of a sudden you feel that you're not worthy of being healed because maybe you did something bad in the past, or you haven't forgiven yourself for something, or you're whatever it is, right? If you honestly don't feel like you deserve to be healed in that prayer, that's what needs to be healed. Okay. You want to start from there and say, okay, to the divine, you know, I don't feel I'm worthy of being healed. Please heal these thoughts in me, and please heal this consciousness in me, right? It knows how to do it. And then once that gets healed in you and you start to realize I'm worthy of being healed, I'm also worthy of being protected and worthy of being loved and worthy of supply and worthy of grace and worthy of knowing divine light and working with it, right? All of these things come from the healing of what we were believing, right? But until we heal it and let it come out, the new stuff doesn't come in because it gets blocked. Does that make sense? Okay. Um, so I wrote down a couple notes about how we create suffering, right? And, when I was first told that we create about 90% of our suffering through, our own misperceiving things, I was like, oh, great, right? Great. But then I also realized, well, if we're creating it, as we learn to heal it, we won't create it anymore. But if someone else, like if you blame someone else for your suffering, then you can never heal it because it's their fault, not yours, right? But if someone else is causing you suffering and you say, okay, what are they triggering in me that I need to heal? When you heal that, I mean, I've seen it with the abusive relationships. As soon as someone heals that they deserve to be abused because they're not good enough, the relationship ends or it transforms. But they healed it in themselves, and then the outside world changed. Okay. So I'm just going to go over quickly, like kind of a list of some of the things that we do collectively as human beings that cause us suffering. Okay. Um, Judgment comes up as one of the top things on the list. When we judge something as bad or good, right, we automatically limit ourselves to what the truth is about it, right? Because what we judge is it's bad if it feels bad, and if it's good if it feels good. But what if, and look at suffering, right? A lot of it doesn't feel so good, but is it bad, right? Or is it something that we need to go through in order to heal, right? And if it's the latter, it's actually good. So, try to not judge things too quickly, you know, go through the healing process of healing suffering first, and then look back at it and say, was it bad? Okay? Because when you've healed it, you're usually grateful for the experience. Now when I read contracts, I am really good at it, and I'm not afraid of it. I'm at peace the whole time. I recognize everything that I need to recognize. So that was good. It helped me stay in my own power when I work with people and I need contracts, right? It helped me to like not compromise myself, not make myself weak. Because if you make yourself weak, you have fear later on, right? Because you didn't protect yourself. Okay. So anyway, um, judging things, unless you're all knowing, it's almost impossible to judge if something's good or bad. It just is. And if you think it's bad and it keeps happening, then, offer it to the divine and pray for divine understanding to see it with divine discernment. Okay. And it'll come. And when it comes, you won't suffer any longer. Okay. But you just got to pray it with sincerity. Um, Another thing that creates suffering is when we're misperceiving something, we're so powerful that when we misperceive something, we automatically start attracting to ourselves what we misperceive. Okay. So if we think that we're, let's say bad and deserve to be punished, we'll attract abusers in our life. Okay. And that just, we need to heal ourselves first. Okay. Or if we believe that in lack, that there's not enough, we create worlds like that. Okay. But it all starts with healing ourselves first, and then the outside world changes. Um, Doubting we're good enough for healing and love, that's a big one. Okay. If you find that you have any doubt or guilt that blocks you from thinking that you deserve healing or love, ask for that to be healed. Okay. That's the first step, and it will get healed. Opening ourselves to darkness, abusive people, believing that we have to compromise ourselves to get what we want or need. That creates a lot of suffering. Okay. All we have to do is recognize when we do that and again, choose light to help you heal it. Stubbornness. Okay. um, Stubbornness and not being open to guidance. That's causes a lot of suffering. When we think things have to be our way and we're stubborn, whether that's in a relationship to prove that we're right or to get someone to do what we want them to do, right? Stubbornness really stops divine help because you're saying it has to be my way. And that's not how it works. It's like, okay, bring light to this relationship and light up our path, right? But let go of complete attachment to a specific outcome in a specific time frame. Okay. Most of the time, if I'm suffering, I'm like, okay, what am I attached to? Right. Okay. Well, this has to happen. When? Now. Why? Because I'm afraid. Okay. And then it's like, okay, so I start with the fear. Okay. Let's release the fear. Let's release this. Let's release that. And pretty soon it's like, okay, I'm at peace now. Okay. One thing I know about suffering that a lot of times you'll feel something going on in your body that feels unpleasant, but you don't really want to look at it. So you kind of just keep doing your daily thing. And the feeling's there all day long, and you're just uncomfortable. If you find that happening, just decide you want to feel what you haven't felt yet that day, right? Just lay down, sit down quietly and say, okay, what is this that's going on in me right now? And then whatever it is, just turn to your guides and angels or the divine and say, I feel this. Okay, that's it. I feel this, right? And a lot of times that clears it completely instantly just by expressing it. Okay. I was working with a girl one time who was super angry, and we were clearing the anger, right? And it took almost the whole session, and she wasn't letting it go. And so I asked my guides, I said, why isn't she letting this go? And they said, it's a mask. And I said, what's it a mask for? And they said, because she's angry with someone because they rejected her and don't want to be with her. And I said, yeah. And they said, underneath that anger is the hurt and the feeling that she's not worthy of being loved. And that's what she won't feel. All right. That's what she won't go to. And the anger is just masking it so that she doesn't have to feel that she doesn't believe she's lovable. And so I told her that, right? In a nice way. I told her that. And I said, is it okay to be with that feeling just temporarily, knowing that in the ultimate reality, it's not the truth about you? And she said, yeah. So she felt it. I held light. I was a bridge to the light for her. I held light. She felt it. And it just kind of just evaporated, right? And she was at peace with it. But her whole life, she was resisting feeling that, right? When there was absolutely no truth to it. But if we resist something, it stays alive. When we finally just turn to it and say, okay, this is what I believe, knowing that if it's wrong, we can always ask for it to be healed, right? That's what eliminates the suffering. That's what frees us from it. So, anyway, stubbornness, that's part of stubbornness. It's like, this person has to love me because if not, I can't live with myself, right? um, Another thing about suffering, and Abby covered this a little bit too, is when we feel an emotional upset, when we go to the mind with it and we start to identify with it in our mind and we start to lament in the thoughts of it, okay, that will do nothing to heal it. And it will only make your attachment to identifying that it's you more and more strong. So if you find yourself angry or fearful or frustrated or whatever, try to heal the wound before you go out to the outside world and start taking actions. Because if you let the feeling overcome you and you let the feeling run your mind, any action you take isn't going to be fruitful. Does that make sense? Okay. So clear the emotional charge first, and the divine will guide you into the next steps. It will show you the truth. It never fails. Okay. You just got to learn how to clear the emotional charge first. Okay. Um, okay. So how to transcend how to transcend the suffering into joy, into peace again. Okay. We have to start letting it go, right? One of my teachers was really profound. I said, "What's your favorite prayer, Jane?" She said, "Let go and trust God," or "Let go and let God," right? We have to let go of what we're holding on to in order for it to get transformed. And that includes suffering and all the thoughts that go with it, right? As soon as we let them out, we're free. Have you ever like been really upset and you've been kind of like, suppressing it for days and days and days, and then finally you decide to talk to your spouse about it? And you might maybe have a glass of wine or whatever, and you just go, okay, this is what's been bugging me. And after that, providing you're not like attacking and blaming, after you've expressed it, you feel like you just gave birth to something. You feel great. Okay. We can learn to do the same thing with light with that, right? Also, what I want you to notice is when you and your spouse are at odds with one another, if you don't ever talk about it for days and days, it doesn't go away, right? It doesn't, it just, you just kind of like walk on eggshells next to each other, right? But both of you have charges that you're not dealing with. That's how it works, right? Relationships bring up wounds. And if you love each other, you hold space for each other. Okay. So, um, so one of the most important things about how to heal suffering is to become aware of it, that you are suffering. Okay. Don't run from it. Just become aware of it, knowing that you don't have to do anything about it ultimately, except for bring it to the light. You can't heal it. You're not supposed to heal it. You're supposed to let go of it and let the light heal it. Okay. So you're not responsible. You just have to participate. Okay. Um, so when you feel suffering, what do? You feel it, you embrace it, and then you call in the divine light and you ask the divine light to help you heal it. Okay. That's it. Uh, Once you have a connection to the light, then you offer it to the light, right? God won't take something from you unless you offer it. Okay, so you offer it. So I have a prayer. Anybody that wants the prayer for that, I have a bunch of prayers about clearing and purifying. Just send a request for it and we'll send it out to you. Or you can actually go to our website, and I think it's on the bottom of the sessions page. But they work. They really do. Once you have your connection to the divine and you've offered your suffering to the divine and you've honestly offered all the thoughts and everything and just asked for help, then just be still. Peace be still, and know I in the midst of you is God. If you haven't watched our last class on the healer within, watch it because it will help this class. Okay. And I'll put a link to that on the bottom of the YouTube. But once you once it's active and you feel it, we're going to go through a meditation with this, but once it's active and you feel it and you offer it to the divine, your job's pretty much done. You just have to be open and let go and breathe. Let the light do the healing. You don't have to do it with your mind. And the truth of the matter is, you can't. Okay. Um, and then ask the divine to continue to heal it until it's completely healed on all levels, mentally, physically, spiritually. Okay. Again, that takes care of if you're in pain because you believe you're not lovable or worthy of love, it will heal that part, the spiritual, mental component. Okay. And then seven, learn to monitor yourself and pay attention to when emotional triggers come up. That's when you're wounded. That's the suffering. Okay. And when that comes up, I want you to treat it like it's a child. Let it express itself. Okay. There's no shame in it. It's just something that you learned in the past or a wound from the past, even a past life that needs to be expressed. And in order to be expressed, it needs to be allowed to surface. And you need to bring light in because the light knows how to heal it without you taking any thoughts. It just happens. Okay. I remember one time I was meditating and I was upset and there was like self-hate. Okay. I was hating myself because I wasn't good enough. And I was sitting with that and I felt the hate. So I offered the hate to the divine. And then the thought came up, I hate myself because I'm not good enough. And I went to defend against it. And my guide said, leave it alone and let it go into the light. It's not you. And then I saw all the memories of people punishing me because they thought I wasn't good enough. Right. And me staying, trying to prove to them that I was. Okay. Well, that didn't help me at all. Right. But that one meditation, it took about 5 minutes and it cleared the whole thing. Okay. So sometimes it's just to being allowed, like, you know, when I work with people, my main function is to hold the bridge between the light and them and just leave that open so whatever they need to clear gets brought into the light and cleared. And they don't have to worry about holding the grid. Anyway, let's do a meditation on this. And we'll just go through, how I clear wounds. um, any kind of suffering type wounds, and we'll just go through it together. Is that okay? Okay. All right. So first of all, just close your eyes, take a deep breath, let it out slowly. Take another deep breath and let it out slowly. And I want you to notice how your body feels now. And just recognize that whether your body feels good or bad, whether it's tight or loose, it isn't who you are, it's just a state of consciousness. Okay. And it's always changing, it never stays the same. Okay. So just take an inventory on how you feel. And I want you to know that however you feel, you're completely safe. You're completely safe. Okay. And now what I want you to do is I want you to just call in the divine presence. Some people call it the Holy Spirit. Some people call it God. Some people call it the universe. Call in your divine guides and angels and ask them to join you in this meditation. Ask them to come into your heart and bring their light, their wisdom, their help. And then notice if your feelings changed. Do you feel more expanded? Do you feel uplifted? It's important to start to call in the divine light on a regular basis because A, that's your essence, and B, it's your healer. It knows how to heal anything, and it's capable of healing anything. It knows how to get you through any situation in life, and it's capable of it. You just need to trust it and have faith in it and believe that you're worthy of its help. So let's, with each breath, let this divine presence start to grow in us. And just relax into it. You can let this presence go down through the top of your head and fill your heart. And then go from your heart and fill your room with light. Fill all space around you with light to where you're just taking a bath in light. And what I want you to realize is this light is all loving. It loves you. It wants you to live in joy. It wants you to live in peace. It wants you to return to your nature, your true nature, which is love and joy and peace. And it knows how to heal you. So as this light continues to fill your room, I want you to recognize that it's always with you. And each and every time you call it in, it will always come. Your role is just to be open and ask with sincerity. Now, go back and feel your body. Does it feel more expanded? If there's any discomfort in your body, I want you to bring this light to that area in your body. And I want you to ask this light, this divine consciousness, to start to heal that area mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. To start bringing light and truth to that area. And to cleanse that area of anything that's not of light, that's not of truth, that's not of your essence. And just let the light be in charge of that area for the rest of this meditation. Now, I want you to think of something in your life that you've been stuck in that's been causing you stress or suffering. And as you think about it, let the feelings from that surface in your body. What are emotions are associated with it? Just let yourself feel that emotion and let it marinate in the light that's already in your body. And then offer that emotion to the divine, to the light, along with all of the thoughts, all of the memories, all of the perceptions, all of the desires, all of the expectations associated with the emotion. And ask this light to pull this out of you and to heal and transform the consciousness associated with it. And help you heal it mentally, physically, and spiritually. Let the light lift it out of you and dissolve it and transform it. Sometimes when we're in the midst of a life's lesson and we have to face something that's difficult, the most important thing to do is connect to the light and ask for courage and faith and trust in the light to help you through it. And ask for wisdom and guidance and protection. All of these things are yours if you ask for them. And the other thing about it is when you start to form this relationship and ask for help, you're no longer alone. You're not going through this with just the mind. You have infinite wisdom, infinite resources that can create miracles without you taking one single thought. So if you find yourself with an emotion that's unpleasant to feel, let that be a signal for you to get to this state where you're connected to light. And then offer it to the light. And let the light not only take it, but all of the thoughts associated with it, all of the memories, all of the perceptions, to rid you of it and heal them and correct them. And as this happens, your outside life will change. It will heal the inner and the outer. So now let's go back to that situation. And let's ask the light within you to bring you all of the resources you need to heal this completely and to be in charge of the healing for you. Sometimes it'll heal it instantly, and sometimes it will heal it over time, but it will always heal it. If you can learn to rest in this light before you face your challenges, while you have an active emotional charge or suffering going on, if you can learn to use that as a trigger to get you to connect to this light and rest in it, and then give the light permission to do the healing on all levels and to guide you through it, it will resolve itself a lot quicker and you will not be alone. And sometimes if you're stuck in an emotion, if you just bring this light in and take your attention and put it on the light, you'll notice that the emotion dissolves all by itself within minutes. But you want to focus on the light. That's what dissolves the emotion. If you focus on the emotion grows. Focus on the light and offer the emotion to the light. And then put your attention on the light. You might start to think about that this light is your true nature, is your true essence, and not the thoughts that you were thinking, or the memories that you were experiencing, or the thoughts other people were projecting onto you. Let this light be your authority and your guide, not the mind. The other thing that's important when you're sitting in this light with a charge is not to try to force things. Allow the light to heal it. Allow it to come up and witness it and experience it. Okay? I want you to ask this light to be present with you tonight while you sleep and to continue to heal anything in you that needs to be healed, that's blocking your peace, that's blocking your joy, that's blocking your spiritual growth. Just give it permission. Now take a deep breath. Breathe the light all the way down into your belly. Let it expand and then release it. And thank it for showing up, thank it for helping you heal, even if you don't fully understand it. And ask it to help you heal in the future as well, whenever you need it. And when you feel complete, just open your eyes.